Following his military service, Yizhar earned a BA in political science and Hebrew literature at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. A member of the Israel Bar, his law degree is from the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya. He holds an MA in Jewish Studies from the Schechter Institute in Jerusalem, and his PhD is in Sociology and Education from Sussex University in Brighton, England. Yizhar has a broad experience in the Jewish community. After holding the deputy director position for the Shorsheim Center for Jewish Studies, Yizhar served as the agency's community shaliach to Tucson, Tuscan. I'm not sure if that's Tuscan or Tucson. That one letter makes a difference. Perfect. Thank you. On his return to Israel, he worked for the Jewish Agency as a director of partnerships. Yizhar has professional experience in advertising and journalism as well. He is a regular contributor to the Israeli press on the subjects of religion and state, and is the co-editor of the book Questions About God, published by Ma'ariv. Between 2007 and 2020, Yizhar served as the executive director of the Masorti movement in Israel, part of the worldwide conservative Masorti movement dedicated to traditional, egalitarian, and pluralistic vision of Israel and Judaism. Yizhar has represented the Masorti movement in the negotiations with the Israeli government regarding egalitarian prayer at the Kotel, and he is one of the leading voices in Israel promoting Jewish pluralism. He is also a member of the executive Jewish Agency, the Board of Trustees of Keren HaYesod, and the Board of Governors of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Hess is the senior representative of Marcaz in the national institutions. Yizhar Hess is a 10th generation Jerusalemite. He lives in Modi'in with his wife Yael and a former colonel in the IDF and their two children, Anachid and Mika. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Hess. Dr. Hess will speak for some time. We will leave time at the end of the presentation for questions. And again, as Tom suggested, if you have questions that you've not already sent in, please just put them in questions and answers or in the chat, and we will try to address them. Thank you very much. Dr. Hess.
Thank you so much, Carl, for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. I'm speaking to you from California now. I'm in Los Angeles. We are in the midst of the election for the World Zionist Congress, as I'm sure all of you here know. It started just a few days ago. You cannot open anything that is related to Israel of today without counting the days. It's 543 days since October 7th. 543 days. It's the longest war that Israel ever had. And we are in a gloomy moment in our history. If you visited Israel, and I know that some of you did visit Israel, after October 7th, I'm sure that you felt that it's a different country. You feel it everywhere. You feel it in the streets. You feel it in the hotels, in restaurants. Even in private simchas, you feel it. The playlist is different. The volume is different. Sometimes it's hard to breathe. We are still coping with two things. One, of course, the fact that 59 hostages are held in Gaza. And secondly, the questions that weren't answered yet about what happened to us on Shabbat morning of October 7th. How come we were caught so off guard? These questions will not be addressed until an independent committee will be put that would investigate thoroughly what happened back there. But it is something that makes me feel that Israel is still on October 7th, and we will not be able to reach October 8th until we will know what exactly happened there in order to make sure that it won't happen again. And of course, until the hostages are back. Now, to get to Israel of October 8th, I think that we need to be ready. And need to be ready, it means that we need to plan ahead. How would the Israel of October 8th look like? And I'd like just briefly to put three pillars that I believe that are necessary to be in place when we are getting there. The first one, it's the obvious. It's security. We learned that Israel is not secured enough. We learned that in spite of all the investments and the talent that was put since the establishment of the state of Israel, it wasn't enough, and it wasn't structured smartly enough in a way that would prevent what happened. It means that we would need to enlarge the IDF. We would need to invest more in the Shin Bet and in the Mossad. It means that the next decade of the economy of the state of Israel would be subject to huge investments that would need to occur in our security systems and measurements. It's a burden, but there is no other way of doing it. The second thing has to do with something that we almost forgotten, but I think that we cannot forget it, even though it is hard to me to express it, and I'm choosing my words here delicately because it is something that one cannot even imagine, including me. And I'm talking about peace, the desire for peace, the aspire for peace. Can we even talk about a peace process with the Palestinians in this moment of time after October 7th? Well, I'm not sure. But what I'm certain that we cannot let go of the hope to have it. And I'm not sure that the same paradigms that were before October 7th are still relevant. But what I do know, and I'd like to remind us all, that only 5 years after the Yom Kippur War of 73, only 5 years later, President Anwar Sadat of Egypt landed in Ben Gurion and spoke at the Knesset. No one would have thought, would have imagined in 1974, not in the Egyptian side and not from the Israeli side, that such a thing could happen. People would have laughed at you if you introduced it, and here you go, it happened. So sometimes tragedies can make new paradigms arise. I hope it would happen. This is something that we cannot neglect, not for future generations, not for our generation, not for our children's. Peace is something that if we would not aspire to achieve, we will meet every 10 years, every decade with another vicious cycle of bloodshed. This is not something that we are doomed to have. I think that we should work hard in order to create a new reality on that. The second thing, the third element, the third pillar, has to do with Israel's democracy. If you remember, as much as October 7th was a tragedy and is a tragedy, October 6th was not a paradise either. The 10 months prior to October 7th, when Israelis, so many Israelis, hundreds of thousands every week were demonstrating in the streets for Israel's democracy, it is something that is not forgotten and should not be forgotten. It was a hard time in Israel. The society was torn. Now, what we learned in those 10 months, was the Israeli democracy is fragile. We do not have enough checks and balances. We do not have a constitution. We do not have two houses. We do not have enough checks and balances in order to make sure that a duly elected government, but with a very small majority, could change fundamentally the democratic nature of our regime. And it means that we need to work on it. Work on it meaning that we would need to put our activism into mode of operation in Israel. And hopefully the next government in Israel, I'm not sure when elections would come, but when election comes, hopefully the next government of Israel would have the courage to lead Israel through another legislative moment, another constitutional moment that we so desperately need. Now, the majority of these three pillars are things that we Israelis need to take care of. Okay, we live in Israel. This is our duty. We are citizens. The third one, though, the democracy component, it's something that we together, we share responsibility about. The first Zionist Congress was convened in Basel, and Theodor Herzl, that convened that Congress, did not invent Zionism, but what he did in the first Zionist Congress is to politicize the Zionist idea. Herzl politicized the Zionist idea in Basel of 1897, and his politics, the politics that shaped the Zionist movement, was politics that was based on the ethics of democracy and of the different procedures that democracy puts together. And it shaped the state of Israel. Now, the ultimate goal of the Zionist movement was, of course, to establish the Jewish state. And the Jewish state was indeed established just 51 years after the first Zionist Congress. So the political movement that Herzl created was definitely effective. But from that moment on, upon achieving the ultimate goal of the Zionist movement, the platform that Herzl created, the Zionist Congress that he put together and was convened in the beginning every year, and then every few years, the Zionist Congress remained as the only democratic tool, the democratic platform of the Jewish people to express ideas, to accept resolutions, and to run our assets. So what is resolutions? You can, of course, that you know, and deliberations, of course, this is what we do. We talk, but what are our assets? And this is something that I learned that just a few people are aware of. And in my eyes, this is the main thing that makes the World Zionist Congress today such an important platform. And it makes the elections that are being conducted today in the US so important, even dramatic. So the assets of the Jewish people are quite a few. I'll mention only two of them. These are the two that I'm sure that you heard something about them, but I'm not sure that you are well aware about the way that they are operating and the scope of budget that they are running. So the first asset that we have together, and when I say we have together, meaning we are the owners of, we the Jewish people, not we the state of Israel. These assets that I'm about to be speaking about are not the state of Israel's, are not the government's. These are assets of the Jewish people. The first one is the Jewish Agency. The Jewish Agency, I'm sure that you heard the name, the institution, more than once, and I know that many of you, if not all of you, are dedicated donors to your local Jewish federation, so some of your dollars are allocated to the Jewish Agency. Well, the Jewish Agency that sends shlichim to Ramah camps every year and shinshinim to different communities, the Jewish Agency that does multiple programs that connects Jews in Israel and outside of Israel. The Jewish Agency, by the way, it's the same entity that when Jews are at risk, sent its emissaries to help Jews wherever they are. When the war with Ukraine broke out just 3 years ago, it was the Jewish Agency that sent its emissaries to the borders to help Jews who came to the borders. Some needed a hot meal or a blanket. Some needed cash. Some needed a hotel room for a couple of weeks. Natan Sharansky, that we all know, Natan Sharansky wrote about it, that it was the first war in history where it was better to be a Jew in the queue because the family was there waiting for you. So we have multiple reasons to be proud of the Jewish Agency, and it's also needs kudos for the fact for what the Jewish Agency is doing for our movement. For many years now, for 3 decades, the Jewish Agency is the only source of funding that Masorti conservative Judaism and its institutions, the Schechter Institute, the Schechter Rabbinical School, different congregations in Israel, Noam Youth Movement, it's the only source of funding that non-Orthodox Judaism gets in Israel because, as we know, Reform Judaism and Masorti conservative Judaism is not recognized in Israel officially and is not funded at all. So it's an important company that the Jewish people have. It has a budget, the Jewish Agency, of $550 million a year. And 50% of its board of governors is the Congress, is the way that people are elected to the Congress according to their ideologies and outlooks. But you know, the Jewish Agency is only one company that we have and not the most important one. The second one, Keren Kayemet Israel, is way more important than the Jewish Agency. JNF, Keren Kayemet Israel, JNF, Jewish National Fund, should not be confused, by the way, with JNF USA. JNF USA, it's a different entity. I'm talking about Keren Kayemet Israel, the company that Theodor Herzl founded in 1901 in order to purchase land in Israel. Land was purchased, and today 17% of the land in Israel is owned by Keren Kayemet Israel, meaning is owned by all of us together. We are serious landowners in Israel, the Jewish people, and developments, rentals, taxes. There are lots of fruit financially that are coming from that land. The revenue goes back to the budget of Keren Kayemet Israel, and today we have on the Keren Kayemet Israel budget, on JNF budget, a yearly budget that exceeds $2 billion a year with a B. $2 billion a year. It's the biggest collective pot of money of the Jewish people. It's 3 times more than all the campaigns of the Jewish federations in North America. It's huge, $2 billion. And as you know, as you can imagine, $2 billion, you can do great things with $2 billion. You can do not so great things with $2 billion. It depends how it's allocated. And 100% of the Board of Governors of Keren Kayemet Israel, 100%, it's the Congress. It's the way the slates are represented in the Congress. $2 billion, this is a sum of money that could change the Israeli society. This is a sum of money that could be very, very influential when you talk about education of future generations outside of Israel. It's a lot of money. Now, what happened to us in the last elections of 2020 was almost a tragedy. We did well, meaning we increased our voting by 50%, which is fine. But still, the results were horrible because we got 15,000 voters. I think 15% more than the previous round in 2010, but then in 2015. But still, only 15,000. The reform did a little better. They got 27 or 28,000 votes. But who did remarkably better in a way that stunned us all was the Haredi party that just joined the Congress in 2020. They joined, the Haredi party named Eretz Kodesh, they joined with one goal, not to support Zionism all of a sudden and to join us to be Theodor Herzl's fan, but in order to chase away Reform Judaism and Conservative Judaism from the seat at the table that we have there. The only seat in Israel that we do have next to a table. And they were successful because they brought more than 20,000 voters to the polls, by the way, from only 5 neighborhoods in the New York area. And it changed the makeup of the Congress. For the first time since Herzl, for the first time since the establishment of the Zionist movement, the pluralistic side of Zionist thinking became a minority. And it had ramifications. It had ramifications because today on the Board of Governors of the Jewish Agency, there are Haredi Jews that were elected democratically. I'm, God forbid, not looking down on any form of Judaism, so not on their outlook and not on their political achievements. They were elected democratically to their positions, but according to their outlook, a conservative convert is not Jewish. And a reform convert is not Jewish. And the Jewish Agency, this is the agency that oversees the Aliyah eligibility process. So we are talking about a change in the discourse of the Zionist movement. Furthermore, what they really want to achieve is to minimize and to illuminate, to cut the budgets that are invested in Jewish pluralism in Israel. Something that is dramatic for the ability of conservative Judaism in Israel even to exist. The ramifications on the Keren Kayemet Israel budget, on the $2 billion, are way more dramatic. It's way more. It's a sum of money that could, as I said before, change the Israeli society. This is the drama that we are experiencing now. It's due to the fact that if you analyze the results of the elections of 2020, you see that 40% of the delegates coming from the US represented Orthodox parties. There are only 10% Orthodox in the US, according to all statistics, and they are represented in the Congress as if it's 40%. It simply doesn't make sense. It means that we were not able to awaken our field. meaning our congregations and institutions, in order to feel that voting is important. And as we know from each and every campaign, elections that we ever participated in, not whether where, not voting is actually voting. And this is what happened to us last time. Not voting is actually voted. We didn't bring our people in significant a number to vote, and we basically let others to take over. Now this time it could be even more dramatic because there are 4 Haredi slates now, 4, and they are running not only in North America but in Latin America and Europe as well. So we might be facing, hopefully not, but we might be waking up after the elections and feel like there was a hostile takeover on the Zionist movement. If it happens, God forbid if it happens, it would not mean only that the Zionist movement as we know it is gone, but it would have significant effects on the state of Israel as well. So this is a fight over Israel's soul, Israel's democratic nature, and Israel's ability to accept the fact that there is more than one way to be Jewish. I know that Men's Club, the leadership of Men's Club that I'm meeting here today, I know that you get it. Furthermore, I know that all of you voted last time, and I'm sure that all of you voted already this time. On this Zoom, you get it. You are dedicated lay leaders and activists who understand how important it is. But my plea to you is to try to help in things that we didn't do last time. Each one of us on this Zoom, each one of us has between 10 to 15 people on his telephone list, on the speed dial, that it needs only a telephone call from you that would convince them, he or she, to vote. People that appreciate you, people that, even if they won't go into the nitty-gritty of every detail, even if they are not experts on Zionism, they will tell you, if it's important to you and it's only $5 and takes 5 minutes, I'll do it. This is what we need to do this time in order to create a different future. And I think it's doable. We have the numbers. Chaverim, we have the numbers. There are 900,000 conservative Jews. Or no, there are 900,000 people that are affiliated with conservative Judaism in North America in different congregations, institutions, school, summer camps, etc. So we can do much better than we did last time. And according to the numbers that we see coming from the American Zionist movement, from AZM, there is a good chance that in these elections, the people that will be voting might get to 300,000, okay, even more. It means that just in order to keep the number of seats that we have now in the Congress, we would need to double or triple the number of votes that we got last time. It's a huge challenge, but we have the numbers. If we are able to work well with our political field, then we have an advantage. The fact that we have congregations and Men's Club and Women's League, the fact that we have a political field, it's a huge advantage in politics and in elections, and we do it. We just need to make this field work. So that's the challenge, and this is the leadership group. Let's stop here and open for questions and advices. You are the ones. I'm eager to hear you.
So the first question in the chat, it doesn't specifically have to do with the election, but it has to do with, I think, point number 2 that she made with respect to the desire for peace. So Mark Rosenson asks, by emptying the prisons of mass murderers in exchange for hostages, how can you reasonably expect a safe future?
Again, I'm not sure that I understood the question, Carl. Could you repeat it?
Yeah. So what he's asking is, I think what he's referring to is the transfer of, we got some hostages back, and for that we gave up hundreds or thousands of prisoners. He's asking, by emptying these prisons, Israeli prisons, of these mass murderers in exchange for the hostages, how can we expect a safe future? So he's, yeah.
It's an interesting question, a good one, and definitely a tough one that I cannot. I'm not certain that I have the best answer, but this is the answer that the majority of Israelis would give. We do not have any other choice. These hostages, the majority of them were not soldiers. They were taken because the state of Israel didn't do what it needed to do in order to protect them. And therefore, the utmost need here is to bring them home. The price is huge, but not bringing them home would mean that Israel would not go back to where we were. From a moral point of view and from the ethical balance here. The Israeli society could not live with the fact that we let go of these people, and it links very deeply to our tradition. Pidyon Shvuim, it's a mitzvah, it's a deed that we were taught and raised and educated generations that this is the one thing that we do. אנחנו מצילים נפש. This is something that we are ought to do according to our tradition. I'm proud that this is part of my tradition, and I know that if indeed those people that are released from our prisons, the terrorists would go back to terror, we will have to engage again with war. But once your people are taken as hostages, you need to do the utmost in order to bring them back, and it means to pay a hard price. The vast majority of the Israeli public supports it.
Phil Margolis asks, on the slates that are listed, there are several North American slates with very similar platforms, including pluralism, anti-Semitism, etc. Has there been discussion of getting together to run as one mass slate? I'm guessing we're leaving votes on the table.
So there are not that many slates that share our agenda. I know that it seems like it, but it's not the case. There are 22 slates running this time. It's the biggest number that we ever had in the Zionist Congress. It's not surprising because it rhymes with things that we see in the Knesset. Remember that the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, was based on the experience of the World Zionist Congress. So 22 slates. Now, there is a big difference between the two slates of the movements, meaning our slate, Marcaz, number 17, and the Reform slate, Arza, number 3. 3 or 4, I'm not sure now. I think 3. These are the only two slates that are not connected directly or indirectly to parties in the Knesset. And these are the only slates that its core business is Jewish pluralism, not as something that we say. This is something that we are committed to more than anything else. Now, I'd like to touch these 2 points. The second one is easy. These 2 slates, the Reform ones and our slate, are slates that are working towards the goal of either Reform Judaism or conservative Judaism, including ensuring funds to help our institutions directly. I'm talking not only about the Masorti movement in Israel and the Schechter Institutes, not only Israeli-based, but also globally, from Ramah and Men's Club and Women's League and Rabbinical Assembly and Cantor's Assembly, significant money. The second thing that I mentioned links to the Israeli parties is need to be noted, and it's not easy to get to understand it in first glance when you look at the list of the different slates. We have the privilege of not being connected to a party in the Knesset. Once you are connected to a party in the Knesset, the one to call the shots would be the leadership of the party in the Knesset. And it means basically that world Jewry is not represented by the party in the Knesset, has extra power on the Congress. And politics, as we know, is always local. And if there is a decision between a bridge built in a town in Israel or investing money for Jewish pluralism or a diaspora kind of activity, trust me, it will always be the bridge. So therefore, you need to think carefully before everyone need to further think carefully before they vote to slates that looks like they talk the motherhood and apple pie of Zionism in a very moderate way and in a pluralistic lingo. You need to dig in to see exactly what is the hidden agenda behind it. It's not that complicated to see, but all the other slates are not necessary from the right and from the left. Okay, I'm talking on that in a very balanced way. Would not represent our interest in the same way.
Fair point, for sure. Another question from Irv. Are you or other Israelis worried about that if the Haredi continue to gain more power in WZO, that Jews will decide to donate less money? And I think he means Jews like us.
Mhm. Yes, I am worried, but not only. Of course, donating money is important, but I'm very much worried, but not because of the money. I'm worried because of values. I'm worried because of the pluralistic nature of Zionism and the future of the state of Israel. If Israel, God forbid, would not be the democracy that it is, the democratic country that it is, the Jewish and democratic state that it will not survive. It is not something that is theoretical. This is something that we need to guard. Democracy needs maintenance. And maintenance is activism of the Jew and of the pew of lay people that need to make sure that we keep it. We keep it by making it alive, and we keep it by participating. The first and the most important thing in democracy is participation. If you do not participate, it won't work. It won't last. And the fact that Haredim were able to bring more and more power to the political system in Israel, they are represented in the Knesset way more than their part in the population. And the fact that there is a chance that it would happen in the World Zionist Congress again, it makes my life, it makes my nights with less hours of sleep. Yes, I am worried for that, and hopefully we'll be able to beat it.
H. Gabriel, how do you confirm that the voters are legitimate voters? Can any Jew vote?
So voting is quite easy. It's good and bad. Quite easy because you need to be Jewish, self-proclaimed. You need to be Zionist. You need to sign the Jerusalem platform. You need to pay $5. It's a Zionist shekel. And if you are an Israeli, you need to declare that you didn't vote in the last elections to the Knesset, because otherwise it's voting twice. There are several security measurements that are in place. You need to pay with your credit card. And only with one credit card, you can pay for the same family for no more than 5 people. Is it enough? I'm not sure. I think that yes. Previously it was work that we didn't have a lot of accusations with frauds. One thing that we had experienced wasn't in the States, was in Brazil last time, when evangelical Christian church wanted to vote, and it was easy because there are not so many Jews in Brazil, and 5,000 new Brazilians that became Zionists was something that was easily tracked. So far, we do not feel that the system is exploited. I hope it won't happen, but this is not the only thing that I'm worried about when it comes to a potential fraud here. What we discovered last week, that one of the Haredi slates, actually 2 of the Haredi slates in North America, offered bribery, meaning money to people to bring them voters. College students that would offered a trip to Italy. They could have chosen a trip to Israel instead, but a trip to Italy if they would bring them a proof that they brought 30 voters or 40 voters. Something that, of course, forbidden. We applied to the Supreme Court, and hopefully a resolution would come next week. But on that, I am worried. I think that within we of course do not cheat. This is part of our ethics, and no one thinks to do it. But the fact that 2 Haredi slates already did it, and we found proof of it, really makes me nervous. Yes, on that I'm worried.
For sure, for sure. Ed asks, did the government in Israel put limits on the use of KKL funds? If the government did, what are those limits?
So no, it's not the government's money. Actually, we help the government from KKL. We are not forced to do it, but we help the government. Like we invested in the last year, of course, millions, hundreds of millions in rebuilding the south and the north of Israel.
Mhm.
And this is money that goes back to the Israeli infrastructure. It's money that we work on projects with the government. We were not forced to do it. They cannot force us to do it. Whenever they want to do it, we are. And every so often, every few years, there is a minister of finance who thinks that he can control this money, and of course, we will fight it if it happens. We'll take them to court. It is owned by the Jewish people. It's not the government's property. They cannot do what they want. What they can do is to tax it. Fine, we'll tell them, okay, if you want to tax Keren Kayemet Israel, tax us, but every dime that we put now, because we want to do it, invested in Israel, we'll deduct it from the taxes. So yes, it's doable, but you'll get way less. And so far, there was no minister of finance in the last 77 years since the establishment of the State of Israel that dared to do it. I do not think that they will do it, so the government cannot force us to do anything. Thank God.
Thank God. Danny asks, based on the trend of voting you just reviewed and the composition of the current government, what unfortunately will happen to the majority movement in Israel will become so weak that it becomes completely irrelevant?
So I don't think that it would happen due to two reasons. One, the government never gave us much. So even if the government would deduct the few dollars that they do give to some extent in some creative way to non-Orthodox Judaism, nothing would happen. I can tell you that if the monies from the national institutions, from the Congress, will not be continuing, that would be a big hit. And this is why we should work hard. What I'm finding encouraging is the fact that more and more Jews in Israel are taking ownership on their Jewish identity, in spite of the fact that conservative and Reform Judaism is discriminated. We see a growing numbers of Jews in Israel that identify themselves as Reform Jews or conservative Jews. And it's a stunning phenomenon. It is also measured in the number of weddings. You know, in Israel, only the chief rabbinate, which is Orthodox, can officiate legally weddings in Israel.
Right.
Yet, in spite of the fact that the population in Israel is growing, the number of weddings via the chief rabbinate stays flat. It means that more and more couples are not going through the ranks of the chief rabbinate, but are getting married, not recognized officially, but getting married. And I participated in dozens of weddings in the last few years. That the one who conducted the wedding was either a rabbi that is not Orthodox, or someone else who did a very Jewish wedding. He's not officially a rabbi, but something with a very strong Jewish content. It is encouraging that this revolution would come from bottom up. And on that, I'm optimistic. So I would not, we need to worry and to help the Masorti movement as much as we can in Israel. But I'm not worried that it would disappear. I am worried if we will not be able to help a Masorti movement via the funds coming from the Congress, because this is so essential to its ability to breathe.
Josh asks, do Israeli citizens pay attention to the World Zionist Congress? Do they care at all?
In Israel. Well, in Israel, they do not, but they do not have to. Israelis do not vote to the Congress. A third of the Congress coming from Israel, but it comes from the Knesset. So when I, as an Israeli, voted to the Knesset sends delegates to the Congress based on the makeup of the Knesset. So it's not that there are elections now in Israel for the Congress that Israelis are voting. It means that we have a less of one campaign to take care of. Okay, we have a campaign in North America and in the US and in Canada and in France and in England and in Argentina and in Peru and in Chile. And there are about 30 campaigns that are being run simultaneously. We do not have one in Israel, thank God. But it's not that Israel is not represented, because a third of the Congress is Israel, and it's via the Knesset.
Right, for sure. Okay, let me ask one more, and then let's give a little time to sort of explain the voting process for those
Yes, sure.
handful of people who have not voted yet. And it's very simple, very straightforward, but it bears hearing again. And the last question I'm going to just share here is not surprising that the Haredi votes are so numerous. They are more unified and follow their rabbi's orders. Not sure how this could be overcome. Nobody listens to the conservative rabbis, right? It's that simple.
Yeah. Um, yes, one of the challenges is that and I don't want to say it, there is a joke, so I won't say it because I don't want to look down that when an Orthodox rabbi, when one of our rabbis asks to do something, of course he gets back a million questions. And when an Orthodox rabbi tells his congregants to do something to jump, they ask, "What height should we jump?" I'm not sure if it's accurate, and it's not nice to say it, but nevertheless, there is a difference in the way that we operate and that Orthodoxy operates. This is true. Um, but what we do get to understand when it comes to democracy, that voting is important. And this is something that we genuinely understand. Once this message is conveyed, I think that we'll be in better shape. And this is our role. Listen, the State of Israel is in its 8th decade, and the Zionist movement is almost 130 years old. This is our time in history to take care of it. This is our shift. And if we won't be able to fulfill our duties, it will be on our shoulders that we failed. I cannot even dream that it would happen. And hopefully, we are working so hard this time in order to make it with better results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So would you like to go through the process, or is
Yeah.
Daniel there? Will he do the process, or whoever
Uh,
prefers is?
I'll do it. It's a short, really short thing. You can either scan the QR that you received, and if not, make sure that you'll get it in one of our multiple brochures that were spread all over in each and every conservative shul we have in North America, or go to votemercaz.org. Or go to the AZM website. It's an easy process of 5 minutes. You need to put your name and address and to pay by credit card. Excuse me, I made a mistake. It's votemercazusa.org. Votemercazusa.org. We can put it in the chat in a second. We will put it in the chat. And you can easily vote. You need to make sure that you get the PIN, because after you register, you get the PIN either to your SMS or to your email. You enter the PIN, and you can choose the best slate. And of course, the best slate is number 17. This is our slate, so it's really easy. But I'm sure that here in this chat, everyone would vote. I'd like to ask you to do the necessary thing to do, which is to reach out to your friends and family. If each one of us will do between 10 to 15 people, bring along and have them vote, each one of us would do 10 to 15 mitzvot today, and it counts, and it would bear fruit. We will all be gaining a lot from this effort. It will keep us, have Israel, a Jewish and democratic state, democratic and Jewish state. We say Yehudit v'demokratit b'dibur echad, all at once. And this is something that we owe the future generations, and it's our shift to do it.
So let me just share a couple words, and this is just sort of based on what I've learned being involved the last year and a half, because people are still asking me, why Marcaz? What is this about? Why should I do this? So I have sort of just a checklist, and this has been written in many places. These are not just my words, but let me just kind of highlight the 7 or 8 reasons why I think, and most of us think, this is important. Number one, these are the goals for Marcaz USA. The goals are to rebuild Israel in the aftermath of October 7th. Both the hostages and the families of the hostages and the whole country needs help. And this whole thing will support those people. Number two, another goal is combating anti-Semitism. We all know that anti-Semitism has grown exponentially, not just in the US or Israel, but around the whole world. And anything we can do, and in particular, Marcaz USA is advocating to fight and combat anti-Semitism. Number three, we believe in an equitable and inclusive democracy in Israel. There's room for a lot of people. It's a big tent. It's the goal to include all people, not just this group or that group, but all people who truly want to make Israel a democratic, or maintain it as a democratic country with rights for all. Number four, goal four is educating on Zionism and addressing misinformation. A lot of people, not just in Europe, not just in South America, but in Cleveland, Ohio, and in Burbank, California, just don't understand what Zionism is. They think it's a bad thing rather than something, once you understand the tenets of it, something that we can all be proud of. Number five, preserving a pluralistic Jewish society. We envision a future where Jewish people of all backgrounds can build a secure, pluralistic, and democratic Israel with fair treatment of Jews and non-Jews alike. Number six, strengthening the bond between American Jews and Israel, doing work like this, doing programming with Israel, working directly with each other. Number seven, funding resources and supporting conservative and Masorti movements' values. There's a lot of synergy between USY and Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs and many women's groups, and we want to continue to fund and provide resources for those endeavors. And number eight, perhaps the most important long term, it's not achievable today, but I have hope it will be tomorrow. That is achieving peace and stability in the region. We stand in support of a vision of an Israel integrated within the region and at peace with all of its neighbors. So these are the reasons why I'm a big believer of this, why I urge you all to vote if you haven't, and to spread this information, spread these thoughts with other people so they understand what this all stands for. Thank you very much. If there's no more questions, I want to thank Dr. Hess for sharing his time and his knowledge and his care and his compassion. Again, yes, I hear a voice.
I want to recognize two people who are on the call tonight. Stan Greenspan, who was Marcaz Canada, now the head of the Zionist Federation. Their elections will be in June, Stan, is that correct? So we'll help them there. And Daniel Livingston, Daniel's been eating, drinking, sleeping this election for the last 2 years. I first heard about it literally 2 years ago out in the hillsides outside of Jerusalem with Stan and others. And he's really living it. We really appreciate all of his efforts, which have kept it on track and driving us towards IGSA number around Skolnick and Saray Crane, who have been instrumental in all of this work. So we thank them, and we thank Paul for putting on this program this evening.
Indeed. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Daniel, for sure. If you have any other questions, feel free to call me or email me or text me anytime. If I don't have the answer, I will hook you up with the person that does. And I thank you all for sharing your time with us this evening. And again, please vote, Slate 17, and hope to see you all soon. Take care, everybody.